Hello everybody, Dokkan Assets here. Today we are back with another, well, not really a community response video, kind of, but sort of. I wanted to do a video talking about Mr. Funny Janemba's animations because obviously in the community right now, there is a lot of talk about him. Finally, thankfully, he's released. Obviously, this whole week, if you have been following the Twitter, me and the boys have been literally losing our minds every night for the past 5 days in the VC, waiting for this man to drop. So obviously, now that we have him, there's lots to talk about with him. Not only is he a pretty solid unit overall, but y'all know that I am more of a animations type of guy. That's always my forte when it comes to hyper-analyzing things in Dokkan. So we're going to talk about his animations. We're going to talk about if I think that they are good or bad. And as well, for the community response portion of this video, I did obviously ask you guys what you thought. And we have a couple of things here. I'm not going to go through it too heavy as much as I would in a normal community response video. Only because, like, a lot of these are more short answers, right? And you can kind of get a good summary of what people think from sort of skimming this over here, right? Like, a lot of people like it. There are a couple people saying it's bad. It seems the general consensus is that they are pretty good, which is nice to see. I think people were a little bit too quick to judge, at least in my opinion. I know I was, because on my first viewing of it, I didn't really like them too much either. But upon my second viewing, let's just go ahead and watch them real quick while we're talking about it. I decided that I kind of liked it a little bit more. So we'll watch through it one time just so that you can get your sort of idea of it in your mind, and then I'll kind of go through each of the essays and analyze what I like and don't like about it. I will say though, overall, after watching the animations a couple times, because usually before I like to form my opinion properly on this type of thing, I always like to, you know, watch them a couple times and really like absorb it before I say, okay, good, bad, okay. Also, why are they using Cacao on that team? I didn't even notice that the first time viewing. That's the other thing too. Sometimes you notice things that you didn't notice before. I'm glad that they included this, by the way. I know that that was literally like a free animation that they could have used. And of course, we gotta have the sword come through. I really, really like this. Such a nice animation in reference to that scene. Though I will say, like, I think in the original scene it was a little bit like he was shaded a little bit darker, like it was almost more menacing, I guess would be a good way to describe it. I'm not sure. Oh, by the way, before we even like analyze any of it, that shot right there is my favorite shot out of everything, 100%. The flames is so cool. Alrighty, so that is basically it until unfortunately, oh, stinky sword break. It's okay, I insane. Alright, so let's go through each of the essays and kind of analyze this. So, wow, 300k views. I didn't know Twitter had that counter there. So, this is obviously the 12 key for his regular form. Rip the boy Veku. This, I will say, is probably, besides the rocks, maybe, like, I think, I don't know, because I like the arm, but obviously that's a reference to when Janemba, like, comes through. The smoke, by the way, always looks good in Dokkan essays. I don't know why they always nail it, but smoke in Dokkan essays looks amazing. So this part with the cubes, I think the animation that's there looks really cool. But it is a little bit weird because, like, when it comes back to Janemba's full, it kind of looks like he's cradling Veku and Veku's crying. That's really funny. When he comes through, right, it almost kind of looks like he's forming in more from, like, the Thanos snap rather than, like, the cubes. But I think that the section of this where it is the actual, like, arm part of this looks a lot better than, like, his full body. Like, this part where it forms looks really, really cool. All of the little cubes coming together to form it. But then this is like, oh, he just kind of, it's like 2 images almost, or 3 images that kind of makes it the illusion of he's fully coming together. I will say this part of the essay is really clean. I didn't think that they were going to include this. Also, you just saw a little Articuno right there. I didn't think that they're going to include that part of it. Sorry, sometimes Twitter videos really suck. Twitter. What a great platform for content. Anyhow, this part I'm really impressed by because I think that the blocks are really hard to like nail the look of them moving forward like this, especially in this section, not here, where they're like sliding forward in this what do you call it? I guess just like cylinder sort of meme. Obviously when they look like that, it is definitely hard to animate that, and I think that they did a good job capturing that look pretty well. Obviously the rocks look cool. This is okay. I mean, it's kind of more basic Dokkan movement. It does look a little bit choppy to me in that section, especially like this. I think this pose has just kind of cursed my mind for Dokkan because, I mean, in the anime, he does like just slide forward with this pose, like for the Tech 1's essay. But every time I see the PNG slide, I'm like, I know it's from the movie, but like, I wish they would have done something to make it a little bit better. But anyway, I mean, he does move slightly, which is a nice little touch. I do like the landing animation. The rocks do look pretty cool too. Alright, let's move on to the next animation then. Bada bing, bada boom, we are here at the 18 key. So, this kick is okay. I like it, but it's not like anything spectacular for me. This section, I will say, also does look kind of choppy when he transitions from here to here. Like, that frame right there is like a boop, right? Where his leg flies up and his tail changes position real quick. That I am kind of not a fan of, but it's not the worst thing in the world. The kick also just like sliding forward is just okay. I wish there was a little bit more movement on him, but again, it's taken from the anime, so, you know, makes sense that it would look like that. This part really is just the sprites. Like, this looks okay with Pikkon getting kicked because obviously, you know, with the leg in his face in that direction, it looks like he just got kicked in the head. But then literally using the same sprite like this right afterward with, here, let me go back to it, I'm sorry. Right here with getting his head kicked the other way, I was like, guys, really? Like, I understand why, because obviously, you know, they can't use another sprite because that's really the only sprite that they have that would fit that. And especially since the, you know, kick is such like a, I guess not really close up, but they need a sprite that's a little bit bigger to kind of work with this scene. It's sort of like, I don't know, man. That one's less of a complaint with Janemba himself and more just like sprites are kind of stinky, if I'm being honest with you. Next section of it though, the kick finally like finishing without the effects on it does look pretty nice, I will admit. Then we obviously have this section. I think this shot is very stunning, if I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I really like it, actually. It's a very dynamic angle. I love that they're kind of getting the close-up on his fingers and then panning away. I think that looks really cool. And Pikkon's sprite also doesn't kind of take you out of the immersion here because it sort of fits the scene. And then I will say this part kind of sucks. I'm not going to lie. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, that is sick. And I love the shading that they did on Janemba too. And then when he charges forward, like, that looks pretty good, right? But then this part, where it's just like the key blast, I don't know. Maybe it'll look better in 2x speed. But it feels too stiff for me with the key blast coming out of the portal. I think that they could have done a much better job on that. It just, yeah, I think feeling stiff is the perfect way to describe that. This part, I will say, is really cool. The charging forward is just whatever, but the fact that he kind of looks like he has a broken tooth, that he goes into all of these different parts, you know, this is sort of like a reference to the whole Lego meme. Wow. I cannot imagine the poor man on the Dokkan essay design team who had to work on this essay, because like, oh my gosh, this would have been really difficult to pull off in the way that they do the Dokkan essays, like the way that they're formatted and getting all of the different images to move in the specific way that they want them to move. Like, I feel like that would have been some guy's nightmare in the studio. So props to them for making that look really good. I do think, like, when he reforms, let me go back to when he reforms, my bad. Right there, like, it's too quick, in my opinion. That one looks a little bit less like the Thanos snap, and it almost just looks more like he's kind of fading in on a Sony Vegas effect. I don't know. Like, the beginning part of it is so striking. When he splits apart, you're like, whoa, that's in Dokkan? And then when he forms back together, you're like, oh. So, very mixed on this one overall. Then this part is what really got me. So, I'm glad they made a reference to Pycon getting his head punched in. Unfortunately, there's not really a appropriate sprite for this. I wish there was, but it is what it is, I suppose. But then, this part is cool, but it looks so weird with the beam over, well, I guess it's just a ball right now, over the sprite. Like, I don't understand why they didn't put it behind the sprite, because that's what would have made sense. Maybe it's just because, like, the different sized sprites are what, like, makes the difference for if this essay is going to look good or not. But even if that is the case, the fact that it resides above the sprite is still kind of weird, because I don't know, like, why would you not put it behind it? That's just what makes the most sense. You would think that because obviously he's going to blast him in the back of the head after knocking him like that, obviously it would be behind him, but I don't know what they were thinking here. I do like the color change, because obviously, well, not only is it a little bit reminiscent of JoJo, not what I was going to say, but it just kind of came into my mind. It's also obviously like the energy, the light from the Ki Blast is kind of reflecting on Janemba's skin, which I think is really, really cool, obviously. I like the beginning part there where he's about to scream. I do think that his eyes are maybe like a bit too thin on this section, but maybe obviously it's just supposed to be like, oh, well, he's screaming and he's stretching his face, so of course his eyes are going to be a little bit close if he's making his mouth that big. But the blast looks really cool. I definitely think they did a good job with that. This, I feel like there could have been a little bit more movement on the circle, but I mean, like, not too much to, you know, analyze in that section. I do think the little explosion around that does look pretty cool, though. Alright, so this part is obviously his counter attack. This is a key-based counter. I guess I wouldn't necessarily call it a counter, because it's more like a nullification animation. I do like the animation overall, 100%. I think they absolutely nailed the scene. I mean, thankfully for this scene, it was pretty easy to do, I would think, because it's just Janemba standing there moving his hands, and then the blast goes into the circle. I do believe the circle was actually, like, multicolored, though, in the original, so I don't know why they decided to make it gray here. Maybe just to make it more of, like, a neutral thing. I don't know. But I think it looks good. The only thing I wish, honestly, was that it was like an actual counter where instead of it just nullifying key-based super attacks, maybe it only counters key-based super attacks, right? Because obviously in this scene, when he absorbs the Ki Blast from Goku, the Ki Blast goes right back to Goku in his face, right? And like blows up in his face. So I think that would have been pretty neat. But I do like the animation as to, you know, what we got. Now obviously we have the transformation into the Rage mode. I don't think I have a single complaint on this one, honestly. I think this looks really, really good. His face does look a little bit less menacing, though. Well, I guess I do have a complaint then. I feel like his face looks kind of dopey. I don't know if that's, like, weird to say, but it just looks kind of goofy. Like, he looks like he's more cheeky than menacing. I mean, obviously, Janemba is kind of a cheeky boy, I suppose, but it just looks a little bit, like, too happy for the scene. I don't know, because he should look crazed, not like he's like, yes, I'm going to have chicken nuggets for dinner tonight. Like, I don't know, it's just very weird. Also, I apologize that I think the recording keeps flashing. I'm looking over and I'm seeing that. I think it's because it doesn't like having Twitter in full screen. Anyhow, though, overall looks really, really good. I think captures the scene where he gets the sword well. This part is pretty cool. Obviously, these rapid movements for the slashes are literally right from the anime, so that's awesome. This charge forward, I don't know. These days, whenever it's a single PNG that just zooms in and out in Dokkan, I'm never impressed with it. I'm like, meh, you know? But I do think all the sword slashes look really cool. I love the way that they did that purple effect. I don't know why. These days, I feel like I'm almost more impressed with the effects for the essays than like the parts with the actual characters in them, which I think is so funny. But I think that section looks amazing, literally perfect for obviously the energy slashes that come from the sword. But again, I do like this rapid movement. Probably only the beginning is the part that I'm like, meh, but I will say, I do like that if they were going to keep them in one pose, they did have all of this minute movement, which looked really, really good. Like hello lads. It adds a lot of dynamic movement to, you know, the whole thing overall, which is cool, obviously, because that's kind of what we're looking for these essays. And then I think the slashes look really good. Obviously, in the scene, it's like, you know, quick, snappy movements. I just knocked over something on my desk, sorry. It's just quick, snappy movements, so it makes sense that it's not as, like, fluid, because, you know, it's referencing the original scene. And then, obviously, we have the final super attack animation. Oh! I love this part so much, bro. Absolutely love this. It's so good. Like, the flames look fantastic. Again, I'm always more impressed by the effects on Dokkan nowadays for the cards essays than I am the actual art. Though Janemba looks perfect in the background, I will say. Like, I think there are a couple of Janemba faces in here that I feel like are a little bit off, but that face is literally perfect. The flame transition looks good. Like, yeah, I don't know, his eyes look a little bit too thin here for me. Maybe I'm just tripping, I don't know. But this looks really cool. I love the way that the flames spew out from under Janemba. I think that looks absolutely fantastic. Almost looks like lava, which, I mean, I guess makes sense. Yeah, overall, really like this segment. Obviously, the, I guess just energy blast flying up from the sword looks really cool. Again, those effects, man, look awesome. And then we, of course, get to the section where he charges forward. I do like this part, and I think the explosion at the end looks cool, even though it's just kind of like PNG flickering over and over for the... No, Janemba, stop looking at the sword, bro. Thank you. Like, this section, right, just kind of looks like... You know, for the energy blast. I do like the way that the rocks move away. That is pretty cool. But, like, I don't know. I feel like his movement isn't fluid enough. Like, the part where his legs snap right there bothers me a little bit. Like, I feel like that should be more fluid. It shouldn't snap that way. And then, obviously, the slash down looks pretty good. That's kind of hard to mess up because, obviously, you know, it is, like, basically just a PNG moving. But, again, it is kind of a little bit, like, snappy, but not in a good way. The legs snap, and then... You know, we go from one frame to this frame, and then it slides down. This also just looks a little bit odd, I guess. I don't really like... I guess it's just, what did I say before? Not static. Stiff. That was the word that I used. It looked a little bit stiff when he was flying down. I think that's a good way to describe that section of the animation for sure. It's a little bit stiff looking. And these, like, 3 frames where it transitions here just are a little bit off-putting to me. This part at the end, though, I will say, I really like this part a lot. Obviously, the sword fades and then disintegrates. And the laughing animation looks really good. I think that's, like, peak Janemba right there. His face looks absolutely fantastic in this final scene right here. Alright, so... overall thoughts on this. Obviously, it seems like I'm being really hard on this. Of course, because, you know, I look at Dokkan essays all the time, not just playing the game, but looking at the assets and, like, understanding how they work from the back end, and obviously really enjoying Dokkan essays and stuff like this. I like to hyper-analyze this sort of thing. So, of course, when it comes to it, you know, I'm going to be very critical of everything that I see. The other thing to keep in mind with this animation, too... I didn't even see that frame before, yeah. That one looks a little bit better. Like, his eyes are still a little thin, but I feel like that fits more. Either way, I think the other important thing to remember with this animation, right, is that this animation is coming out right before the worldwide celebration. Typically, the LRs that come out right before worldwide, don't really have the best animations. Of course, it depends on what they have to take from. Last year, we had LR Jiren, which thankfully, this guy's animations are miles better than LR Jiren's. I can say that with full confidence. Like, LR Jiren's are, I don't know, like year one compared to what this guy are. No, they're not that bad. They are awful, though, compared to modern day essays. But regardless, obviously that is something important to remember, and that's why it might look a little bit more janky compared to some other LRs. Unfortunately, they typically don't go back and change this sort of thing, which would be really cool if, like, when they have the free time, they're like, hey, let's go ahead and make the animation a little bit more fluid. That would be nice, but unfortunately they don't usually do that, because obviously then they have to work on the next card that's coming out. Overall, though, I will say I do like the animations. Again, the parts where it is a little bit too stiff do kind of bother me, and some of the snappy movements that don't feel like natural, like they're supposed to be that way, are kind of a little bit off-putting. But overall, I do like it. I like as well the fact that they obviously tried to go for a little bit of a more original route when it came to his animations. Obviously, a lot of these attacks are references to the movie, but they also tried to do a lot more original attacks, which I really like. Of course, Janemba only has a certain amount of things that you can take from him because, of course, he is, you know, from one movie. And he's the villain from one movie, so, you know, he's not like from the entire franchise where they have to take different essays from and stuff like that. So I like what they did with him. I like the different original takes that they had on this. Again, the references to the movies were great. Again, really for me, it was the effects that knocked it out of the park. Like the blade beam effects with the purple slash here, that was probably my favorite part. And then the flames, like here, look absolutely incredible. So very, very good stuff here. It did seem like as well, again, from looking at what you guys thought about all of this stuff, that everybody seems to be satisfied upon a couple of viewings. There are a few people who kind of don't like them. This guy said he feels bad for PyCon. I agree, bro. Yeah. A lot of people saying it's hype. A lot of people liking the original, you know, different sections of the animation. Obviously, people saying that, you know, they're not the best, but they're definitely good, which I think is probably where I stand, right? They're definitely not the greatest that Dokkan can do, but by no means are they bad animations. Yeah, I love the laugh as well. Mass Ningen definitely being pretty excited here. Again, yeah, I agree. You know, unfortunately, if the sprites were a little bit better, they would probably be a little bit better looking, but yeah, again, they're really good, not the best, but still good. And yes, this tweet basically sums it up, I feel like. The laugh animation obviously is super, super clean. I am glad that we did get the sword as well. So overall, pretty satisfied with this guy. Of course, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Always love to hear what you think, especially if you didn't get to participate in the Twitter section of this video. Of course, if you want to participate in stuff like this in the future, just go follow me on Twitter. I'm sure most of you are already, but whenever I tweet out a question, not all the time it gets incorporated into a video, but a lot of the time it gets incorporated into a video. Either way, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if I should do more videos like this, because I really like analyzing these Dokkan essays. Obviously, since it's kind of my thing, I feel like it's something that I would say I'm pretty good at least with some confidence, right? And as well, too, obviously this sort of helps me give my thoughts for the end of the year, like top 5 top worst, you know, Dokkan essays video. Also having these initial reactions to kind of go back and look to. Either way, hope you guys enjoyed. I'll catch you in the next one. Good luck if you're pulling for Janemba as well. And I will catch you in the next one. Dokkan Assets out. Peace.